Hello everyone, welcome to the Power Academy. In this topic, we will going to talk about the Union Budget. Every year Indian government come up with the financial statement. This year too government came up with the financial statement or budget 2022-2023. In this year's budget, Indian government has set its goal to become $5 trillion economy by 2026 through the budget of financial year. India's gross domestic product in terms of dollar has already crossed $3.1 trillion itself. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2019 envisioned to make India global powerhouse by 2024-2025. With this, India would become the third largest economy in the world by 2031. During presenting budget, Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman focuses on the four pillars of development, the pillars of inclusive development, productivity enhancement, energy transition, and climate action. The last two pillars has been added as the two more targets for these years, because the climate and the energy are very important subject in these days. Along with development, environmental balance needed to maintain to get the inclusive growth, because climate and the energy are interrelated. To get the energy, to get the electricity, the human beings are burning the fossil fuels. To get the electricity, the human beings burning the coals, burning the petrols or the diesels according to the availability. When the human beings burn the petrols and the diesels, it creates the pollutions, it creates the climate havoc. So that is why the government of India is trying to make the climate clean by making the budgetary allocations, and through the budgetary allocation, government of India is trying to create the green jobs, green agricultures, and the creations of the green startup. That is the focus of the government. That is why these two extra targets has been added for these years, and this will be continue for the upcoming years. Every country suffered economically due to the COVID-19 pandemic. India also suffered very badly. But India economic recovery and rebound itself from the grim state shows the country's strong resilience to achieve $5 trillion economy. It is a very, very good sign. India also vaccinated its own population at a great pace. India's health infrastructure has improved in last 2 years. Through this budget, Indian government aims to attain the visions of complementing the macroeconomic level growth focus with microeconomic level all-inclusive welfare focus. The second one is the promoting digital economy and fintech, technology-enabled development, energy transition and climate action. The third one is relying on virtuous cycle starting from private investment with public capital investment helping to crowd in private investment. Though this year's budget, government have tried its best to give the relief every strata of the populations, but the some sections are not satisfied with the budgets, especially the salary section. The someone was expecting, this salary section was expecting this tax cut, but the COVID-19 pandemic has eliminated those options for the government, because the government is really having some scarcity with the capital expenditure. But the government has increased the capital expenditure almost in every sector. So that is why to know the budget in the details is very important, and we will going to discuss the every sectors of the budgets in detail. In this budget, government focuses heavily on infrastructure to create jobs and try to give economy sustainable growth through sustainable development. That is why government came up with Prime Minister Gati Shakti project, which encompasses 7 engines of economic transformation. Those are roads, railways, airports, ports, mass transport, waterways and logistic infrastructures. Above engines will pull forward the economy in unison and are supported by energy transmission, IT communication, bulk water and sewage and social infrastructure. Finally is powered by clean energy and Sabka Prayas. That is why I said These projects will going to create huge job opportunities due to the involvement of many stakeholders. Under Prime Minister Gati Shakti, road transport will going to boost the jobs, will going to boost the infrastructure projects around the country, because the government have allocated 20,000 crore to expand the national highway network by 25,000 km in 2022-2023. The finance will be mobilized through innovative ways to complement the public resources. The government investing hugely and heavily on the infrastructure to reduce the logistic costs and the time for the export, also to make the efficient movements of the goods. The system is also being improved to eliminate the tedious documentation and improve the international competitiveness. The allocation for Ministry of Road Transport and Highway has been increased 68%. The allocation stands at 1,99,107.71 crores. So that is a huge investment in the infrastructure to give the boost to create the jobs from the government side. The Indian Railway also got huge budgetary expansion of 1.37 lakh crore with 14% higher capital expenditure over last year. The main focus have been given to capacity expansion and safety. 400 new generation Vande Bharat trains to be manufactured in next 3 years. According to Finance Minister, 2000 kilometers of network will be brought under Kavach. Kavach is an indigenous technology developed for safety for the trains developed by the Indian engineers. In this way, the government of India do not have to export the technology from the developed world, or do not have to spend the extra forex for exporting those technologies. Now Indian government will going to invest the money within the boundary of the nations, and this will going to improve our economy. This is how the government of India is trying to improve the research and development within all the sectors, within the railway sectors, within the road and the transport network. This is how the government is trying to improve the economy. With the improvement and the efficiency, railway is targeting 98% operating ratio. Basically, railway is trying to increase the efficiency of freight performance. Government already building the dedicated freight corridor from Mumbai to Delhi and from Dankuni to Delhi. Railway is now targeting 4.5 megaton freight movement per day. Later, they would like to go for 5 megaton per day. In this budget, Finance Minister also announced an ambitious plan, an Atmanirbhar plan, to improve the local businesses and supply chain through the scheme which is called the One Station One Product. In addition to this, 100 Gati Shakti cargo terminal will also be added. Beside this, Union Budget 2022-23 has proposed an allocation of 48,000 crore for government housing for all initiative. It will be used to build 80 lakh houses. Along with that, government allocates 13,134.93 crore to Social Justice Ministry. The Social Justice Ministry will going to spend that money for welfare scheme for scheduled caste, drug de-addiction program and schemes for senior citizens. As India enters the third year in its fight against global pandemic, the government focuses on the health sector has not been glitched. In 2022-23, the budget estimates for the health sector is 86,200.65 crore, a 16.59% increase compared to the last year's budget. Besides augmenting the health infrastructure, the government has also placed its priority on another critical issue to the pandemic is mental health. With COVID-19 negatively affecting the mental health and triggering an exponential rise in mental health issues among the vulnerable populations groups, the government announced the rollout of National Telemental Health Program. The development comes in the backdrop of growing scientific evidence that the mental health sequels post-pandemic infections. Some patients are also showing the neurological symptoms. Why these kinds of problems are arising among the human beings, among the populations of India? Because of the anxiety, because of the joblessness, because of the quarantine depressions, These are the things are responsible for the mental health situations among the populations. And the government is trying to address the issue, which is very serious in these days due to the pandemic, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. That is why government has came up with an telemental health program to help those who are suffering from the issues related to the mental problems, and the doctors and the others those who are related to this program have encouraged the government to came up with these projects, because this will going to improve the mental health of the Indian populations. In this budget, agricultural sector also got boost. The government is encouraging farmers to go green, encouraging them to go for the chemical free farming, to give the boost to the organic farming, especially on the farmlands in the 5 kilometer wide corridor along the river Ganga at the first stage. The reason behind this program is to reduce the water pollutions on the Ganga, because the river Ganga's water is being used by the people for the drinking. The government also announced 2023 as the International Year of Millets. The government is also focusing in producing the more oil seeds for consumption, because the government have to spend the 4x for the oil import from the Southeast Asian countries. Especially Malaysia and the Indonesia, government spends huge amounts of money due to the lack of oilseed productions within the country. The government is also improving the technological improvement in agriculture with the use of the drone for the crop assessment, digitizations of the land records, and spraying the insecticides and the nutrients. That will going to increase the efficiency and the productions of the agricultural goods. Another great initiative the government took through this budget is the river interlinking. What is river interlinking? The river interlinking project will going to interlink the rivers with the help of the canals. The government will going to build the canals. The government will be spending 44,605 crore to link the two rivers. Two rivers is called the Ken and the Betwa river. The project name is also after those two rivers, called the Ken Betwa linking projects. The projects will going to provide the irrigation to the 9 lakh hectare farmland, along with 62 lakh people will going to be benefited by the drinking water supply. Also, 103 megawatt hydropower along with 27 megawatt solar power will be generated through these projects. Under these projects, a 221 kilometer long canal will be built, and the food processing industry is also going to get the boost through these agricultural budgets. Government is allocating the sum of money to get the food processing industry, to give the boost to the food processing industry, because the food processing foods are very much expensive in the outside markets, outside of the India. That is why the India wants to export the food processing foods to the outside world, where especially the Middle East, where the food scarcity is very much because of the deserted land. They cannot produce the food. That is why they import the food from the other nation. Recently, India beat the Brazil as a food exporter to the Middle Eastern countries. Now the India is focusing on the processing foods to export the goods and food related goods very efficiently to the Middle Eastern countries, and to earn the forex reserves as much as India can, because India will be able to spend those other forex reserves to consume the other goods like the petroleum, diesels from those countries to there the India is investing. That is why the processing foods are very important for the Indian economy, to export the food processing goods to the Middle Eastern countries, to the other countries, those who really needs the foods. Now we will going to talk about the MSME and the educational sector, because MSME and the educationals are two important sectors that will going to contribute in the growth of the Indian economy. Under MSME, Uddam, eShram, NCS and the Ashim portals will be interlinked, and their scope will be widened. To help ailing MSME sector, government extended emergency credit line guarantee scheme till March 2023. The guarantee covers will be expanded by 50,000 crore rupees to total cover 5 lakh crore rupees. Education also got important impetus in this budget. The regional language program has been given special push by increasing the educational TV channels from 12 to 200 under the Prime Minister with the program. 750 virtual labs in science and mathematics and 75 skill e-labs for simulated learning environment will be set up in 2022-23. A digital university will be established to provide the access to the students across the country for world-class quality universal education. That will going to increase the efficiency of the students to get the knowledge from the different sources. The three schemes, namely Mission Shakti, Mission Vatsalya, or the Saksham Anganwadi and the Poshan 2.0, were launched recently to provide the integrated benefits to women and children. For providing water to each household, government allocated 60,000 crore under Har Ghar Nal Se Jal scheme. Because the water is very important for the life. And to get the clean water, that is the goal of the important. The Indian government wants to give the clean water to the every households of the India. That is why the Indian government has came up with this ambitious plan with an ambitious budget of 60,000 crore. The government is trying to cover all the Indian households among the year of 2024. So that is why the Indian government has allocated the 60,000 crores of budget rupees within that project, and the government is very much dedicated to complete this project within the 2024. The government will also be launching e-passport using the embedded chip and the futuristic technology to enhance convenience for the citizens in their overseas travel. Already 100 countries are providing this technology for their citizens. The cryptocurrency sector, the government put 30% tax plus 1% surcharge on crypto transaction. Because right from the first, government discouraging the people to do the business using the crypto because the tracing the crypto is a very difficult job. But the good news is that the Reserve Bank of India will going to introduce the digital currency in this financial year. The income tax slabs remain unchanged. That is a very good sign. That is a very good move. We are seeing the tax increase in the various countries due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but the India did not rise the tax burden on the middle classes. Solar power is one of the main focus area for the government. That is why the government set an ambitious goal to generate the 280 gigawatt of solar power by 2030. The government will also going to issue the green bonds. Why the green bonds? To target the carbon neutrality to achieve the net zero target by 2070. At last, we have reached defense sector, which is the very important subject these days, because India is facing the unprecedented aggressions in its northern and the eastern sector from Chinese armed forces. India is also facing some challenges in its western sector, because Pakistan is trying to push the terrorisms within the Indian boundary. Through the Union Budget 2022-23, the government has allocated 5.25 lakh crore, which is equivalent to almost $70.2 billion for armed forces, which is 13.31% total budget, but it's still only 2 to 2.8% of the GDP, which is very low. Comparisons to the United States budget allocation, comparisons to the Chinese budget allocation, India have to increase its budget up to the Chinese budget allocation, because the China is showing its aggressions in the Indian Ocean regions and the border areas of the northern Indian portion. That is why the India have to increase its budget allocations in coming days. But due to the coronavirus pandemic, everyone has got hit. India has also got hit. That is why the India has not been able to get in touch with the Chinese budgetary allocations. But in coming years, India will going to touch the budgetary allocations of the Chinese. In these days, the Indian government pushed for the Make in India in defense sectors. That's why the research and development and startup and the academia got 25% of the total budget allocation. 68% of defense procurement will be procured from domestic defense industries. That is a boost for the Make in India and the Atmanirbhar Bharat program. The private sector will be encouraged to take up design and development of military platforms and equipment in collaboration with DRDO and other organizations under special purpose schemes, the special purpose model. For these budget allocations, Army got 32,015 crore, Air Force got 55,586 crore, and Navy got 47,590 crore. So India is investing more than $500 billion through the budgets. But the India is also giving the budget to its Ministry of External Affairs to the other countries. To the other countries means the to whom the India is shares its boundary, to whom India is considered as an strategically important nations. That is why India have been investing its money in those countries since the inceptions of the budget days. The India has allocated $200 billion for the Afghanistan through the MEA. India have allocated $600 billion to the Myanmar. India have allocated $200 billion to the Bhutan, some $200 billion to the Sri Lanka, and $300 billion to the Nepal. So India is helping its neighboring countries to go forward with the accelerations to the Indian growth. So that is why the India is investing in those countries to counter the Pakistan influence, to counter the influence of the Chinese in those countries too. So India has set the vision for the next 25 years, achieving the goal of the most economically powerful nation. So India has set its goal to become the third largest economy of the world, to become the most influential economy of the world, because our population is 1.4 billion. So, and that is a very positive effect to its economy. And India will going to get forward with these budgets and the budgets to come. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.